we're back in my car's natural habitat, Stefan's garage.
On Jackson.
And we're back working on cars together. I've missed this. We are back here at Stefan's, which means it's becoming very real that the turbo's actually going in. I haven't been collecting and stockpiling all these parts for no apparent reason. So yeah, car's over here. I've done a considerable amount of prep work, taking out the radiator, oil's been dropped, coolant obviously is out. So now we just focus on starting with ripping the engine out. Once it's out, we'll start putting the parts together. This is what we're all here.
Dylan's episode, put Stefan on the camera? Maybe. So it is Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. It's the day after we pulled the motor out. Dylan's not here right now. I work earlier hours than him, so I'm done at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whereas he works very late hours. So because of that, I'm going to work on his stuff so that we can make progress.
Thank you.
Some of you are probably wondering why we pulled the motor out to install a turbo kit. Yes, you can very easily boost a car, or specifically a Miata, with the motor in the car. But there's a lot of things we have to do to his car that are easier to do with the motor out. Things like put a new clutch on, rear main seal, drill and tap the pan, which we're going to do today. And we're not going to tap the pan, we're going to weld the pan. ATI super damper, things like that. And cut the engine bay up so that the turbo fits, which I've already marked here. We'll do that today as well. We're going to cut this shelf out so the turbo clears. Any of you guys that have run these, you know you need to cut a little notch out. So we're going to do that before we put the motor in. It's easier to get in the engine bay and cut it all out. First things first today, we're going to weld a 10AN bung on his pan. So here's the bung. You guys have seen me use these. They're the same ones that are on my valve cover and Dylan's valve cover. I'm going to put it here. It is 2 inches from the bottom of the flange. And that's where, Flying Miata recommends that you put the drain. He doesn't have air conditioning, thankfully, or power steering, thankfully. So actually the fitment on these isn't that big of a deal. I could put it higher if I wanted to, but the higher you put it, the shallower your drain line is going to be. So the more direct the drain is, the better the turbo will drain. You won't have pressure issues or anything like that. I have already brake cleaned the entire inside of this oil pan. I use an entire can of brake cleaner. I'm also going to wipe the spot after I drill it with acetone, and I'm going to grind the outside down to get rid of any sort of contaminants. I might grind the inside a little bit too. Similar to the valve covers, this stuff has been soaked in oil for probably 100,000 miles. It's going to weld not the greatest, is my guess. In theory, I'd like to weld both the inside and the outside. I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe I'll just double weld the outside, do 2 stacks. The reason I don't like doing this on the car is because here's the the oil pickup. That hole is right here. So if you drill too far, I think you have like 3/4 of an inch once you go through the pan. If you drill too far, you can punch a hole in the oil pickup and you'll never know until you go start your car and you have no oil pressure. So another reason to take it out of the car. It's much easier, much cleaner. So yeah, let's get to drilling, welding. So as you'll see, I welded it twice in the video. There's a base pass, which is just welding this to the pan. And then because I don't want this to ever leak, I did like a weave on top. So what looks like 2 welds here is just me stitching up, down, up, down, up, down, and covering the existing weld with another weld. This thing, if this leaks, we've got some significant other problems. I was looking forward to this because this is like the first time I've welded in probably 3 weeks. Oh, also, if you're wondering why we need a shop space when it's just 2 of us, this is my garage right now. So it's 600 square feet. There's 2 Miatas, plenty of space in between. Dylan's stuff on the wall, his wheels, his header, all that stuff. There's plenty of space over here, but then once you get up here, we've got all of these boxes, including those, and that intercooler that are meant for this car. The welding table, the welder, my toolbox, all of this shelving, those tools, engine hoist, his motor. When I was drilling and grinding, I was literally standing on this on this jack, working right here. Everything's a mess. There's tons of stuff in here. One car working on, you know, if one car is not in here, or like my wife's car parks in here, it's not that bad. If I was just me, I wouldn't need a shop. But it gets so tight, I can't open my toolbox while I have the welding table set up. So moving into this space would be like really, really nice. Next thing, I'm gonna push my car outside before I make a mess, but we're gonna get to cutting his engine bay. We'll get to grinding that part of the engine bay out while he's not here, so you can't see it. Well, he's gonna edit this, so he'll see it all. Yeah. Let's get to cutting. So what you just saw me do was definitely an extra step. It was not fun. I don't think I would do it again, but I want to do this as right as possible, and it's not going to look very right now because the paint doesn't match. But when you cut this, all the seam welds are right here, all along here. And when you cut it out, this is separate. So what I ended up doing is hammering them together and welding the entire thing shut. And then this is sadly the same white as the rest of the car, but because engine bays get really dirty, it doesn't match. If this were white mixed with a hint of dirt, it would be perfect, but it's not. So I'm thinking I'm going to suggest to Dylan tomorrow that he ends up covering this with kind of gold foil tape so you can't see it. The turbo's right here anyways, so keeping some heat away from all the gas shock stuff in here might not be a bad idea. That is the most room I've ever seen for a turbo, so if his doesn't fit, we've done something wrong. That's as much as I'm going to do tonight. That took way longer than I thought. It was a total pain, absolute pain. But it's done, and it's done right. So I'm probably going to clean up, take my Miata out for a rip because it's like 70 out, 65 out. And Dylan will pick this up tomorrow while he's working and I'm chilling in my house.
So we're making progress here, and first off, we've got some things done in the engine bay, a little spaceship-y, with some stuff in here. Just trying to make sure it doesn't get too hot. But the real excitement at the moment is these ceramic parts that we just got back. Shout out to Rock Coating for turning these around super fast. I did not expect to get these back so quickly, but man, I mean, right?
That's the right way to do it.
Right? So we've got our exhaust stuff back already. Exhaust manifold. Oh, I'm very happy. So yeah, we're just gonna start assembling, and it's Wednesday. I mean, this is
A little ahead of schedule.
This is a little ahead of schedule, dare we say. But yeah, put some stuff back on. What do we got to get on there before we put it back in? We're going to put the hot side turbo in, finish the manifold install. Pretty much that's it. Yep. Put it back in because we're still waiting on the valve cover.
We'll build your turbo drain.
Turbo drain, got it. So with that means we'll be able to start like mocking stuff up. So this just unlocks the ability for us to start putting the engine back in already.
Yeah.
It's been here for 2.5 days.
Yeah. Once the motor's in, the little parts we wait for are 20-30 minute jobs to wrap up. So
yeah. So we'll just hop to it. That is really addictive. Not bad.
Hey, so Dylan is actually at his dad's birthday dinner right now. I'm trying to get a little bit more work done so that we can get this in the car tonight. All these turbo feed lines are in place and good to go. We have the ATI super damper on here. Redid the front main seal and all that stuff before we put it back together because these are notoriously hard to get off. So that's in place. Everything is good there. We re-ran his coolant line. It used to be like 3 pieces, and now it is 1. Skips the oil cooler and goes back to the back of the head. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but we replaced his oil cooler with a Mishimoto sandwich plate, and that has a temperature sensor in it, so he can run, like I have in my car, the oil temperature sensor gauge pod in his dashboard. That's all situated. The turbo drain is done. So I made one yesterday, or 2 days ago. I didn't like it. This was a 45-degree AN fitting, and now it's 60, and the routing's much better. We obviously don't have the cold side of the turbo yet. So the cold side will go here, and it looks like there's enough space for what's going to happen is the water pipe is going to come behind the cold side, and the snout, or the part that goes to the intercooler for the cold side, is going to be like right around up here. So we have plenty of play. This can go up, down, around. The oil drain and the water feed are both very much so out of the way. The routing's really good. I've done a flying Miata kit before in the car, and it was a nightmare. This is way, way better out of the car. One other thing, Dylan is planning on running this TurboSmart IWG 75 external, or I guess wastegate actuator. Similar to the one I have, mine's a dual port, that's a single port. I don't know if they sent him the wrong one or what happened, but it does not have the right fitting on the end for the Garrett style turbos. So what I did, and I'm kind of proud of it, but not really. I made a pivot point for him. So I took some welding coupons out of 3/16 stainless, cut them all up, squared them up, and it's not pretty, I'm going to tell you right now. Stacked them together, stacked them up on the back, and then welded a nut on the end. This is a temporary fix, mind you. And then now this guy, obviously with one nut on the other side, will sit in there. We can adjust tension, and it will allow for full actuation of the wastegate, depending on, obviously we got to mount this on the cold side when it gets here. Next thing, take out the stand, we will do the rear main seal, put the clutch, flywheel, all that stuff on, slam the transmission in, and it will go into the car tonight. Like, that's the last thing that's got to be done.
Engine is going back in tonight. Finally. We say that, and the car's not even been here for 4 days.
Yeah, we were wrestling with that transmission.
Yeah, we had a hell of a time getting this transmission to go back in. A lot of grunting. I've had easier swaps with PPs just in the car, like on my back on the ground too. I don't know what the hell was going on with that. Anyway, we're going to try to get this thing in and call it a night here. Yeah, let's just get this engine back in. Let's do it. Engine's in! Hey!
Finally. That was pain.
It was honestly...
This motor's fought us all day.
My car always fights us. Somebody's always got to bleed when we're working on it, but no, this was definitely more difficult than normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as the K.
I think it's the engine hoist not being as long as the other one.
Not like being able to reach into the car. That could be. I will say, outside the car, the engine, it looked a little more complicated. Now seeing it in the bay, it's like, man, we have a lot of shit packed in here. But we'll be back at it tomorrow morning with really just starting to bolt stuff up. Yeah, just start throwing this whole thing together and see how far we get. Hopefully we're possibly starting it up. Sorry.
It's been a marathon of a day and night.
Yeah, so where we left off was last night.
Putting the motor in.
Motor was in. And we didn't film anything today.
Yeah, no, so we started at 9. It's 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30
p.m. But everything is hooked up.
Yeah.
We're going to show you guys around what we've done. We ran into some obstacles with some things, which luckily the welder it turned roadblocks into speed bumps.
100% clutched us up. Let's touch on a couple things that I was going to highlight as we installed them that we're installing. I haven't really said too much other than the fact that it's a 2560R turbo. Piece milling, kind of like a Fly Miata kit together. It's Fly Miata intercooler.
Very piecemeal.
But we've got some pretty cool parts to highlight. The R8 coil on plugs are from Flowforce.
Yep.
And they look awesome. So shout out to Flowforce. They're actually like a first run for them. So we got those installed on the car. Huge shout out to Rock Coating in general. We got more parts from them today. Like just totally coming in the clutch.
The valve cover.
Valve cover.
From Charlie.
Yep.
Same guy that did mine.
Valve cover, all powder coated. We also got a new radiator, Mishimoto radiator. You know, just trying to keep this car as cool as possible. So yeah, between that, the injectors, the other bits and pieces of the Fly Miata kit, some fab work. Like we don't even have the blow-off valve that we're planning on running, just because it hasn't shown up yet. So it's like I don't even know the blow-off valve that's in there, and all the intercooler piping's all from Fly Miata too. So
it's their base recirculation valve. So it's what you buy if you bought the Fly Miata kit. TurboSmart IWG 75, like I talked to you guys about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I built that little flange, and then we had to modify pretty heavily the bracket that held it in place.
Yeah.
But it looks stout right now, and it's actually in a really nice spot that is better than the factory was going to let us, like better than the factory routing.
Some of the stuff's a little janky, not going to lie. Like, it's not the way it's going to be or was designed to be, like with the breather setup.
Yep. Yeah, we will be building a catch can like we built for mine, but it is the 11th hour, so tomorrow's dyno day, hopefully.
Yeah, so some of what you'll probably be seeing on the screen is, just kind of makeshift, make do. So we have built pressure, oil pressure in the system.
Found one leak, fixed it.
Yep.
Coolant leak.
Coolant. And we're going to see if it starts up. So we're going to set you up and try to capture the moment. So let's see if this thing will start up. Well, it's started up on the second turn of the key, but it's idling high, so we're going to try to dive into this here and see what's up. I don't know, it might be a vacuum leak, not sure. So, we're going to peek around.
So, oh my god, so 1 a.m. update.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's 12:53. The wideband sensor that Dylan is running is my old Innovate LC2, and it looks, we had it running fine earlier when we were revving up the car. It was reading perfectly, and then after we moved it, because it was in a temporary location, it decided to just shit the bed, I guess. We stole the AEM wideband from my car, which is the same LSU 4.9 connector, and it looked like it calibrated fine and everything, but in Megasquirt it shows that it's only pegging out at, it shows either 22.3 or 7.5, you know, depending if you touch the throttle, it dumps it to Pig Rich. Our buddy Tim, whose car you'll hopefully see us review here over the summer, is going to meet us at his shop in the morning, and he has an Innovate LC2 sensor. We're going to try and slam that in at first thing and get this thing to the dyno tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, so to be continued for next episode.
Not over yet.
I mean, it's not over yet, but our episode's over.
Yes, this is the end of the episode.
And our night's just about over.
Yeah, we're calling quits. But,
or should I say our day's already beginning, but...
Yeah, so next episode we'll wrap this thing up and get to the dyno, hopefully. So,
maybe.
Stick around, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe.
Please.
And we'll see you next weekend.
Ready when you are. Oh my god, my back is popping.